Have you ever noticed how two people can experience the exact same situation and walk away with completely different feelings? One person sees a problem, another sees a possibility. One person sees an ending, another sees a new beginning. The difference isn't in what happens to us, it's in how we choose to see it. Welcome to a journey through the transformative power of perspective. Today, we're exploring quotes and stories that will shift the way you see your challenges, your opportunities, and your life itself. The window washers. Let me start with a quote from Wayne Dyer: "When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." This reminds me of the story of two window washers working on a high-rise building in New York City. Both men had the same job, worked the same hours, and faced the same dangers, dangling hundreds of feet above the ground. A journalist interviewed both of them one day. He asked the first window washer, "What's it like doing this job?" The man sighed heavily and said, "It's terrifying. Every day I'm suspended in the air, one equipment failure away from disaster. My back aches, my hands are raw, and I'm constantly anxious. I count the hours until I can get back on solid ground." The journalist then asked the second window washer the same question. His face lit up. "Are you kidding? I have the best office view in the entire city. I get to see sunrises that most people miss, watch birds soar at eye level. And I'm in the best shape of my life. Plus, I'm providing a service when people look through clean windows. Their whole day gets a little brighter." Same job, same building, completely different experience. The only variable? Perspective. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." The window washer who chose to see beauty, purpose, and privilege in his work transformed his entire experience from miserable to meaningful. The teacher's lesson. Here's another quote that changed my thinking, from Charles Swindoll. "Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it." There's a beautiful story about a teacher who demonstrated this principle to her students in an unforgettable way. She walked into class one morning carrying a glass of water. Students expected a lesson about optimism: is the glass half full or half empty? But instead, she asked, "How heavy is this glass of water?" Students shouted out answers: 200 grams, 500 grams, maybe 300 grams? She smiled. "The absolute weight doesn't matter. What matters is how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute, it's not a problem. If I hold it for an hour, my arm will ache. If I hold it for a day, my arm will feel numb and paralyzed. In each case, the weight of the glass doesn't change. But the longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes." She continued, "The stresses and worries in life are like this glass of water. Think about them for a while and nothing happens. Think about them a bit longer and they begin to hurt. And if you think about them all day long, you will feel paralyzed, incapable of doing anything." The classroom fell silent as the lesson sank in. The teacher set down the glass. "Remember to put down your glass. Your perspective on how long you hold your burdens makes all the difference. Don't carry what you can set down." This story beautifully illustrates that we often have more control than we think. We can't always control what happens, but we can control whether we pick it up, how long we hold it, and when we choose to set it down. Segment 3: The Farmer's Wisdom 701,000. Lao Tzu once said, "New beginnings are often disguised as painful endings." There's an ancient parable that captures this wisdom perfectly: the story of the Chinese farmer. A farmer's horse ran away. His neighbors came to console him. "Such bad luck," they said sympathetically. "Maybe," the farmer replied. The next day, the horse returned, bringing 7 wild horses with it. "How wonderful!" the neighbors exclaimed. "Maybe," said the farmer. The following day, his son tried to ride one of the wild horses, was thrown, and broke his leg. The neighbors again came to offer sympathy. "How terrible! Maybe, answered the farmer. The day after, military officials came to draft young men into the army. Because of his broken leg, the farmer's son was passed over. The neighbors congratulated the farmer on his good fortune. Maybe, said the farmer. This story has been told for thousands of years because it contains a profound truth. We often judge situations too quickly. What appears to be a disaster might be a blessing in disguise. What seems like incredible luck might lead to unexpected challenges. The farmer's perspective was remarkable. He didn't rush to label experiences as good or bad. He understood that the full story takes time to unfold. He remained calm, balanced, and open to possibility. As Rumi wrote, live life as if everything is rigged in your favor. When you adopt this perspective, even setbacks become setups for something better. Call to action number 1030. If these stories are shifting your perspective and brightening your day, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We share uplifting content like this regularly. And I'd love to have you join our community of positive thinkers. Your support means the world. Now, let's continue with more inspiring perspectives. The janitor's purpose. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man. But one thing, the last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." This brings me to a story about a janitor at NASA during the 1960s space race. President John F. Kennedy was visiting the NASA Space Center and happened to meet a janitor carrying a broom down the corridor. Kennedy, being genuinely interested in people, stopped and asked, "What do you do here?" The janitor straightened up, looked the president in the eye, and said with pride, "Mr. President, I'm helping put a man on the moon." He didn't say, "I clean floors," or "I'm just a janitor." He understood that his work, however humble it might seem, was part of something magnificent. His perspective elevated his daily tasks from mundane to meaningful. This is the power of perspective. We can find dignity, purpose, and inspiration in any role when we understand how we contribute to something larger than ourselves. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, "Here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well." Your perspective on your work, whether it's parenting, teaching, serving customers, or cleaning, determines your experience of it. When you see the bigger picture, every task becomes meaningful. Melody Beattie wrote, "Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have as enough, and more." Let me share a story about a woman named Sarah, who discovered this truth the hard way. Sarah spent years frustrated with her life. Her house was too small, her car too old, her job too demanding. She constantly compared herself to others and always came up short. Social media only made it worse. Everyone else seemed to have perfect lives, perfect homes, perfect everything. Then Sarah's mother had a serious health scare. Suddenly, the small house felt like a blessing, because it meant less to maintain and more time with family. The old car still ran reliably, getting her to the hospital every day. The demanding job provided health insurance that covered her mother's treatment. After her mother recovered, Sarah started a daily practice. Every morning, she would write down 3 things she was grateful for. But with a twist, she had to find gratitude in things she previously complained about. "I'm grateful for my small house, because it forces me to declutter and appreciate simplicity. I'm grateful for my old car because it's paid off and has been reliable. I'm grateful for my demanding job because it challenges me to grow." Within months, Sarah's entire life experience transformed. Nothing external had changed. Her house, car, and job were the same. But her perspective shifted, from scarcity to abundance, from complaint to gratitude. As Oprah Winfrey says, be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever have enough. Gratitude doesn't change your circumstances, it changes you. And when you change, everything changes. Pablo Picasso once said, "Everything you can imagine is real." There's a wonderful story about a renowned artist who was commissioned to paint a mural in a rundown community center in a struggling neighborhood. Many people questioned why such a talented artist would waste his time in such a depressing location. The artist arrived and studied the crumbling walls, the broken windows, the garbage in the streets. Where others saw decay and hopelessness, he saw possibility. He began painting a massive, vibrant mural showing the neighborhood. Transformed children playing in clean parks. Gardens blooming, people smiling and connecting. He painted the community not as it was, but as it could be. Something remarkable happened. As the mural took shape, residents began to see their neighborhood differently. They started cleaning up the streets. They planted gardens. They organized community events. Slowly, the neighborhood began to mirror the vision the artist had painted. The artist didn't change the neighborhood, he changed how people saw it. And when their perspective shifted, their actions followed. This is the transformative power of perspective. It doesn't just change how we feel about reality. It changes what we believe is possible, and therefore what we create. As Henry David Thoreau wrote, "It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see." Today we've explored how perspective shapes everything: our experiences, our emotions, our possibilities, and our reality itself. Remember the window washers, who had the same job but completely different experiences. Remember the teacher's glass of water: put down your burdens. Remember the Chinese farmer who taught us not to judge too quickly. Remember the NASA janitor who saw his greater purpose. Remember Sarah, who discovered abundance through gratitude. And remember the artist who helped an entire community see differently. Your life isn't just what happens to you. It's the story you tell yourself about what happens. And you get to choose that story. If this video brightened your perspective today, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Share this with someone who needs a reminder that they have the power to see things differently. Drop a comment below telling us which story resonated most with you. As William James said, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes." Your perspective is your power. Use it wisely. Thanks for watching, and remember, the way you see your day determines what kind of day you'll have.